Welcome to the Marketing Innovators Podcast. Today we have Christine McIver and she is the founder and chief executive officer of the Kids Cancer Care Foundation of Alberta. Christine McIver has devoted her volunteer and professional life to serving children and families affected by childhood cancer. As CEO of Kids Cancer Care, Christine is responsible for the vision and direction of one of Canada's largest children's cancer charities, offering more than 20 year-round therapeutic, educational, and recreational programs to Alberta families. Under her leadership, the foundation has grown from a volunteer effort in her basement to one of the largest pediatric cancer research funders in Canada. Christine has earned national acclaim for her service to children with cancer, including the Governor General's Meritorious Service Medal, Alberta Centennial Medal, Canadian Hadassah-WIZO Women Achievement Award, and an honorary Doctor of Law degree from the University of Calgary. So, with more than 25 years in the nonprofit sector, Christine holds certificates in voluntary and nonprofit sector management and is a certified fundraising executive and a member of the Association of Fundraising Professionals. Christine, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Manib. Really pleased to be here with you today.
So, Christine, it's a pleasure to have you here today. And, I was kind of going through your backstory a little bit, but why don't we get into how you started, your Kids Cancer Foundation of Alberta, and we can go into more details.
Sure. Well, it was a long time ago, a very, very big journey. So from the beginning till today was a really long journey over many, many years, lots of heartache. And lots of wonderful successes. The reason that I started Kids Cancer Care was my son, Derek. He was diagnosed Christmas Eve, 1986 with a malignant brain tumor, and so began the journey. It was 30 years ago, and it was a very, very difficult time in a young family's life. I was expecting my third child, and Derek, my oldest son, was very sick in a hospital bed, and at the time in Alberta, there were no real services except for the medical assistance to help Derek through his cancer journey that really existed in this province. And, we were still and continued to today to be a very affluent province. And there was just no real good reason why we didn't have more services and programs for children with cancer and their families to help them through that journey. And so my first real goal was, of course, to get him through surgery and then the subsequent therapies that he was going to need to make a full recovery. And next to that, look after my young family and give birth to my daughter just a few months later. And it was a really, really difficult time, and it imitates so many families even today that are diagnosed with cancer, that they're young families and that they are in their main childbearing, child rearing years when their child is diagnosed. And so my journey was the very same as many other families that came after my own experience. So I knew that once we got Derek through the radiation and the chemotherapy and the subsequent many, many relapses and his eventual passing, that I really needed to do something to change the status quo, because the status quo simply wasn't enough. I think for any family going through this, it wasn't the right time or the right place, but I think that every parent wants to do something more for their families and their children that are experiencing this, that they would have done the same thing that I did. It just happened to be the right time, the right place for me to do it. It was so difficult, and yet, there was lots and lots of opportunities there to make a difference, to make changes, to have a really positive impact on this world of childhood cancer. And since that time, 1986, that so much has been able to be changed, and so it's just such a positive thing that myself and so many volunteers and our public in Alberta and primarily in Calgary have been able to make these amazing changes.
That is amazing. And, I was reading a statistic here that even with so much advancement in technology, childhood cancer still is the number one disease that is killing children today in Canada.
It certainly is. In fact, in North America.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And not a lot of people actually know that, the impact that can actually have. So what is, obviously you're creating a lot of awareness about this fact. And a lot of that has to go with how you present the organization and how you've actually created awareness through marketing and dealing with tight budgets as a nonprofit. How do you deal with the marketing channels, and what do you see works well?
Well, I think knowing who your audience is, and who you want your audience to be, is really primary in any of our marketing endeavors. We've really crafted a wonderful logo, and it's certainly not our first logo. It's in fact our third logo, and everybody will know that you have to change your logo every once in a while and rebrand and refresh. And we did a refresh a few years ago, and have found that this logo that we landed on has really been an amazing piece of what we've been able to use as a really strong marketing message. Our brand is very friendly, very down to earth. It says exactly who we are. It's life affirming. It's kids can. And then the CER in cancer is fading out, and the care is fading out, because not that we're going to stop caring. It's because we're going to stop needing so much focus on it. And so, our vision is really eliminating childhood cancer, and that there's a cure for every child and care for every family. So that's what we wanted our logo to really feel, everything that we wanted to accomplish in that regard. Having that strong logo, we've been able to really mix a lot of our messaging in with that as well. That kids can read, learn, laugh, play, do things that they never thought possible. And so, it really lends itself very well to that, you can just imagine what you want to happen, and it happens through that strong branding. So everything that we do, our programs, our fundraising, our real focus on curing children and helping them to thrive and survive in body, mind, and spirit is all funneled through that avenue of a strong brand. So I can't reinforce that enough, that you really need that strong messaging in order to be successful when you're marketing. Doesn't matter if it's a charity, a nonprofit, a business, a governmental agency, anything like that needs to really focus on that. We're also a very high-touch organization. We genuinely care about every child, every family, every volunteer, donor, fundraising partner that we work with, and we want that to come across really strong in any of our messaging, and again, through our brand. We want people to feel good about their experience when they come into contact with us, whether it's as a donor or a fundraising partner, and especially our families. We want them to have that amazing kids cancer care experience. We want them to become fans, and we want them to tell other people about us, about that good experience of being part of the Kids Cancer Care family, no matter where you're at in your journey with us, if it's as a family or if it's as a donor or a volunteer or some kind of partner. We want you to have that really, really good experience, make it memorable. And so those are some of the things that's worked really well for us. The other thing is earned media. It was, obviously working on a really tight budget, and we can't pay for advertising. And so we have to earn it, and we do it through our storytelling. And not unlike this podcast today, we're earning that exposure through sharing our story. And I think it's really vital that we have amazing videos that we could produce, that we've got blog posts, that we've got social media posts and print newsletters. We're expert storytellers because we've got endless stories to tell that our families are so eager to share with the public because they know it's going to help themselves. It's going to help other parents, other families, and it's going to help us to raise those much needed funds to make the programs and services happen.
I was actually kind of going through the content on the website and reading through some of the stories and the messaging that you have on the site. There's so much meaning behind that messaging, and you really are articulating through storytelling all the different pieces as to what the organization represents. So considering that you have, obviously being a nonprofit, you have tight budgets and you're leveraging earned media, what are some of the other biggest challenges that you are currently facing to create more awareness and to get more marketing under your belt?
As you know, we've just come through a global pandemic, and we've been had to be very decisive and nimble to get through that last year. So that's certainly one of the most recent big challenges. And happy to say, because we've got a strong organization, strong balance sheet, and a really strong board of directors and cadre of volunteers and incredible staff team, that helped us get through that big challenge. But some of the other things is, philanthropy, we feel is changing. People aren't giving straight up donations anymore, although there is still lots that feel like that's the best way to help. But the younger generation, the philanthropists of tomorrow, they are very much more transactional in their giving. They want something in return. They want to be entertained, and they want to play, and they want to have fun. And thankfully, a lot of our programs and our fundraising events are very active, driven, and fun to be and to play and do. So that's, we're responding to it in that way. Direct response marketing, which has really been the mainstay of our acquisition, has been changing a lot. So think direct mail, and those are the kinds of things that you use in order to acquire new donors. But people aren't giving that way anymore. Even though we're using some great stories, they're not really using that as people aren't really subscribing to that anymore. So it's a big challenge, and it's one that we have to find the answers to. We also we compete for people's dollars and mind share every day. We compete with larger cancer charities, other nonprofits like universities and hospital foundations, and they have much larger budgets and staff and they potentially receive a lot of government funding too, which we don't receive government funding, except for the last year throughout the pandemic. We were lucky enough to get some of that, but these larger charities, they have these huge budgets, and they have huge marketing budgets too, which we have to be smarter about and more ingenious with every one of our dollars to make sure that we're not spending it in that way, that we earn the recognition and that we earn your mind share every day, that we become a household name. The other challenge we're facing is keeping pace with new technologies and digital trends with a very limited marketing budget and staff as well. So, we have to be very creative in everything that we do like that. And then, of course, the Alberta economy. It's always been a boom bust, and we're in a little bit of a bust right now, but we're hoping that prices and of natural resources improves, and just coming through the pandemic with a renewed a sense of hope and promise, and the Alberta work ethic and attitude is also going to help us through that as well. So we've been very fortunate to be in a province that is full of entrepreneurs and innovators and creators, and and people that want to help. So those are some of our challenges, but we're going to get through those too. We've been through just as equally of tough times, so we're going to do it again.
So speaking about the pandemic, I know a lot of organizations have really suffered through this challenge, and especially those that rely on critical donations that need to happen at certain stages. How did you overcome some of those challenges during the pandemic? And obviously things are opening up right now, but in the past year and a half, how have you dealt with that?
Well, this has been a really fun year. I have to say, it was a terrifying year, but it was really an amazing year to see our staff come up with genius ideas. Our volunteers gave us lots of suggestions, and our board stood by us and gave us wise, sage advice and let us go and innovate. And the overused word of 2020, 2021, pivot. We did lots of that, but we're kind of used to living in a pandemic situation. Masking and hand sanitizer and distancing is not a foreign concept to us because we work with immune-compromised children all the time. So we just had to take the knowledge, the innate sense that we already had, and really develop it into something that allowed our public to feel comfortable in participating. They wanted to help, and we needed them to help. And so what we did was create events that we could physically distance. We could, do all of the monitoring, the health monitoring, and still come together and have fun. Early on in the days of the pandemic, we did something as grassroots and basic as the good old-fashioned bottle drive. Now, our office is situated in a standalone building with a parking lot wrapping right around it. So we had people driving in with their bottles at the end of May, and they were lined up down the street, and this was a Saturday, and they were coming with bottles and bags and bags and bags of bottles in their cars. They'd pop open their trunks. We'd have masked family, family cohorts pulling bottles out of the back of their trucks and cars. And these people came in with tears running down their face because they were so happy to first be out of the house, but to also know that they were helping children with cancer. They were going to help us to get through this pandemic. Now, May of last year, nobody knew that this pandemic was going to go on for 15, 16 months. And still, who knows what the true end of this is going to be. But, we gained that sense of spirit of using the platforms that we had, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and of course LinkedIn to get the message out there, and asking our stakeholders and our public and our volunteers and everybody to repost and reshare everything. And so it became a real groundswell of support through something that everybody could so easily do, and that was reshare a post, put on a personal message about how important this was. So that wasn't the only event that we did, although we did continue to do bottle drives throughout that. My husband shaved his mustache and raised an crazy amount of money just by shaving his 40-year-old mustache, and shaved it off on Canada Day of last year. And I mean, it was great because people really wanted to join in on the fun, and we had a socially distanced event at a big park in the center of Calgary, and people came out for it. We still did our dad and daughter gala. We were able to use a movie theater in Calgary, and we did several showings of the same movie, and staged it all in, and people still felt like they were having, the dads and the daughters were still having a wonderful time. But it just, it expanded our ability to even do our virtual programming. So we kept really pushing with our fundraising. But the most important thing that we needed was to make sure that our families who were also going through, a crisis within a crisis, we needed to do virtual programming for them. And we'll continue to grow in this front too, which is kind of a gift of COVID. It opened up the whole pandemic. It opened up the possibility of offering our programs and virtual programs online, and we're really happy that we know they're never going to replace the things that we're so good at, and that's the in-person, but we'll be able to get out to the rural areas more effectively. And that's one of the areas that we've really been lacking over the last 27, 28 years, that we didn't have the ability to get into the rural communities. And now we know we can do this so easily just through the power of promoting it on social media, but also through online programming, and been able to do that very effectively as well. Ideally, one day we'll have satellite offices in key centers across the province where we can offer in-person programs and services to everyone in Alberta. But until then, we've got these platforms that we can really push out really good content. We can do our exercise physiology programs. We can do online tutoring because kids really suffer through that time of their life that they miss a lot of school, and they really need to keep up on their schooling. And so those areas have really flourished for us. Kids that experienced a ton of anxiety. They're already in a really anxious situation, just being diagnosed with cancer. And so our child life therapist was able to reach out to our kids and do some online counseling and just chatting with them just to see how they were. It's been a challenging time, but a real learning time too. So we're not going to let these lessons go away from us. Nothing came across more readily than the ability and the need to market hard on our programs and what we were doing with every dollar we raised, and making sure that our families didn't feel like they were alone during this crisis.
So from a marketing perspective, when you create awareness and when you're trying to get more traction for the messaging that you're putting out, are you mainly using organic posts, meaning that, or are you kind of dabbling into the paid promotion channels as well?
We've used a few paid ads, but generally we're letting things just rise up organically. And, we found that certainly the paid works, no question about it. But the organic ones are the ones that really have the heart. And that speaks really much more to who we are. We're still very grassroots. We're a large charity, but we're still true to our roots. We're very grassroots. And we find that the organic growth of posts and marketing in that regard, the earned media and those kinds of things work really well for us. And then we just don't have the marketing budget that a lot of organizations do have. And gosh, we wish we could, because we would certainly do some really amazing things with it. But we're doing okay. We need to keep our eye on the prize all the time. We need to innovate when we need to innovate, and change, and keep our ear to the ground and look out for all of those, the latest, greatest, and the trends of what's happening. And I think we've done a pretty good job of innovating and listening to the public, and also keeping our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the marketing world too, and being responsive to it, and doing a made at kids cancer care approach to every marketing tool that we've learned or heard about.
So, considering the history of kids cancer care, what do you see are some of the biggest opportunities in the near future for the organization?
So, One of the ones that we're really interested in is harnessing the potential of artificial intelligence a little bit more. For instance, smart fundraising platforms that utilize analytics and research to upsell donors for larger donations or convert them to monthly donors. And it's just kind of similar effort with a greater return. So, the larger the gift you can make, the easier it's going to be for kids' cancer care, obviously. But ensuring that our public is well informed about what we're doing with their investment into childhood cancer, and those kinds of fundraising platforms are going to help us along in that. We want to have fundraising platforms also that give donors a really remarkable experience. Donors are tech savvy. Everybody's tech savvy. Doesn't matter their age. They're getting more and more tech savvy. They're used to shopping online, and they're used to really doing everything online. And they expect to be able to make donations online at the same level and technical ease and sophistication as they do when they're buying online for their for-profit business, or when they're ordering something from one of the shopping networks, that they can make a donation as easily as possible, participate in one of our events, send out a request for peer-to-peer fundraising. And that's where we really want this to go. We want people to feel very relaxed. It's got to be intuitive. Any of our fundraising platforms have got to be smart and responsive and really easy to use, and trust is a huge one there. We need to make sure that our public trusts the platforms that we're using, and that any of their donors in a peer-to-peer fundraising environment also really trust what they're getting online too. So, we're gonna be really exploring all of those, and that's where we're putting a lot of our focus in our marketing world right now, is on strong, trustworthy, intuitive programs and platforms.
So, Christine, you've learned a lot through the years over the history of kids' cancer care, and I'd like to know a little bit more as far as, if you were to go back 5 or 10 years, what advice would you give to your younger self?
This is the greatest, worst question I've ever been asked, Monib, and it's kind of a funny one, only because I don't have regrets. Regrets are the things that keep you up at night, and I did my best with what I knew at the time. And so to think I could go back 5 or 10 years and inform myself, I know, first of all, it's impossible to do. And so what would I change? Nothing. It needed to be what it needed to be in order to grow into what we are today. We've always been respectful in our communications and in our marketing to any of our publics. And so to want to change that, I just wouldn't want to. I think we're here for a reason. We're here to solve the problem of childhood cancer, and we've earned the trust and respect of all of our stakeholders and our public, because we care so much. And I would never want to go back and change that. I think those are real pillars on which kids' cancer care was founded and grown and have grown through the years with. So I don't want to change anything.
Love that. That's amazing advice. So based on your experience and the challenges that you've overcome, if there was one big takeaway that you could give to our listeners, what would that be?
Everything. Fundraising, marketing, volunteering, serving our families. It's about relationships. Kids' cancer care is in the relationship business. We're also in the storytelling business, and thankfully, we have so many wonderful stories from our families to share. In the old days, the shoemaker in town knew everything about the family, that Dad had lost his job and Jimmy had grown out of his shoes. Today, we use different means, but the fundamentals still haven't changed. We need to know who we are, and we need to know who we are talking to, what they want, what inspires them. Today, we have all this data at our fingertips about our niche audiences. but we need to learn to harness it and to use it and be respectful of our audience, their time, and their attention. We need to be brief, be bright, be gone, and be thankful. And the other thing is know who you are and what is your why. Know your audience, stay true to that, stay true to your vision, be passionate, be bold, and don't be afraid to take risks and make mistakes. Don't be afraid to stand out and stand up for what you believe in and what you stand for. If you don't, you've lost yourself. You've lost your meaning. You've lost your goal. You've lost your raison d'etre. You've lost everything. You need to be true to yourself. Shakespeare, to thine own self be true.
Excellent. Christine, it's been such a pleasure to have you here today. Where can people find out more about you and also Kids Cancer Care?
Well, they could certainly go onto our webpage. We've got a great webpage, kidscancercare.ab.ca, and that will lead them to so many amazing paths. If they want to make a donation, if they want to volunteer for us, if they want to help in some way, do a fundraising event for us, or they may know a family who's going through childhood cancer. Although we reach out in so many ways to our families, that we sometimes miss people, and nothing breaks my heart more than missing a family that could have been enjoying one of our programs. So they may be able to share that with people. So we really want them to know our webpage. Also, we can be found on Twitter at Kids Cancer Care. We're on Instagram, Kids Cancer Care, and LinkedIn, Kids Cancer Care. We're really building a wonderful library of YouTube videos as well, so they can find us on YouTube too and see some amazing stories, amazing, special, sweet stories of our families' struggles and their what they need to hear about. I mean, in order to fall in love and be passionate about the next new cause that you want to have and you want to be part of, watch those stories. They'll change your life. Become involved with us if you want to be changed, and in a good way. Do yourself a favor and become part of the Kids Cancer Care family.
Excellent. We'll definitely include the links here to all the social media channels, as well as the website, and also to your LinkedIn profile there, Christine.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. So, it's been amazing to speak to you today and also learn about the history of Kids Cancer Care. I have to say this has been one of the most meaningful podcasts that I've had so far. And, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Christine.
Well, it's been my pleasure to speak with you, Monive, and I just want to thank you so much for reaching out to us and just entertaining the idea of having a podcast about this incredible journey.
Excellent. I wish you the best, Christine. You take care.